We're back. This is the old office I used to work in before the whole COVID-19 thing. We like to call it Party Central. My buddy Johnny Oler has got a shop, and I just steal space from him because he doesn't charge me for it and allows me to work without kids hanging off of me. But once homeschooling began back in, let's see, March, April, May, I had to lend more assistance at home with that. But now it's summertime, and now some of the social distancing guidelines are beginning to lift. So I'm returning to my side work of side work places. Many things are back, and we're going to cover those here in the Weege Show, brought to you by Racetech and their gold valves. You know all about them. Plusher, better bottoming resistance, more traction, made and engineered in the USA. There's some people rolling in. I think they're at the very high-end training facility next door. I don't do any training. Besides riding mountain bikes with Steve Mathis, which did not work, by the way, for Ken Roxon or Justin Brayton. We'll get into that. Just go to racetech.com for more on the gold valve. There's the orange Jeep. So, what was back? Two things. A, Cooper Webb back to his old tricks in the 450 class. I don't know if he was necessarily the fastest guy in this race. I don't know if he was necessarily the fastest guy in the last race on Wednesday, but it doesn't matter. Cooper Webb wins races in a different manner than we're used to seeing. When you talk to most Supercross and Motocross riders about their strategy, their game plan, their master plan, it's usually get a good start, get out front, build up a nice gap, and cruise. Cooper Webb has become a phenomenal starter, but even with that, most of his race wins come from battles and outfoxing guys or letting the race come to him, and that's exactly what he had to do here again, because Ken Roxon was so fast in the whoops, as he usually is. Webb has gotten better in the whoops, but even he admitted post-race, he's not as good as Ken Roxon in whoops. He straight up said that. So in the heat race and in the main, you saw Roxon, I'm gonna guess what, 12 times, 15 times, 17 times between the heat and the main, get next to Webb in the whoops, and then Webb would just go into the main line in the corner after and slow down just enough so Roxon couldn't get underneath him. And also if he went to the outside, he would have been pinned up against the tough blocks. Oh, Roxon had to be so frustrated. And then finally, he gets a break after putting relentless pressure on. Webb bobbles, Roxon takes the lead. That was the move Roxon needed, and then Webb somehow wicks it up and gets right back by him. And the next time they're going to the whoops, yep, Webb's able to block him in the corner after them again. It's just what Cooper Webb does. It has to really frustrate these guys because, you know, when you think of how fast Ricky Carmichael was, or how fast Jeremy McGrath was, or how fast James Stewart was, look, it's just a stopwatch game. If you can go faster than James Stewart, you can beat him. But if you can't, you're gonna have to hope he crashes. With the Webb thing, it has to be a much more intangible, like, I was riding just as well as him. I was going faster than him. I can beat him, but I did not. That's how Webb wins races, and it's a pretty fascinating thing just because it's so different than what we're used to seeing. Now, as for Roxon, we were waiting for, as the phrase would go, the other shoe to drop. He has had some endurance issues in these races here at Salt Lake City, and it was a question of how long he would be able to hang on, or would he be able to hang on, and he wasn't. He was all over Webb. It was a great battle for about 10 minutes, and then suddenly he started dropping, and he ended up finishing 5th. So if you watched our preview show here, the Weege Show, with Steve Mathis, the mountain bike training did not help. Roxon was right back to essentially what he was at the last Wednesday race a week ago, where he also finished 5th. Second place, a surging Zach Osborne, really stepping up the game since we've gone to Salt Lake City. He told me he's in a better headspace. He's really happy with his life, his family, all that stuff. But I don't think anything significantly there has changed for Zacho. What I think, if we get a little more technical, has changed. When Zach first got on the 450, first got on it, I'm talking off season before 2019, we heard he was going super fast, like faster than Cooper Webb fast, like just as fast, if not faster than Jason Anderson fast. And Anderson was the defending Supercross champ at the time. But it didn't really translate into the races in Supercross. And in some of these press conferences, Osborne has said a lot of it is learning how to adjust the bike as the day goes on, which is something you have to do much more on a 450, which is something he did not do much on a 250. And I think Adam Cianciarulo has said some of the same things. Chasing the bike, trying to figure out where the track's going to be at the end of the night and where the bike needs to be for that is a different skill, because the track's rougher for the 450s, and handling on the 450s is at such a higher premium. So these new guys at the class, they can run the fast lap time during the week. They can run the fast lap time like Cianciarulo does in qualifying. But to do it when it counts late in those races, well, you can see where Cooper Webb is making his money. But he's probably not going to get the championship bonus because Eli Tomac keeps doing what he needs to do. Tomac started this race in 15th. and still managed to come through for third. It's easy if you look at the results chart to just say, oh, Tomac is now cruising for the championship. But that third place was hard-earned, man. That wasn't, you know, riding at 90% and accepting a podium. It was having to come from 15th to 3rd to get it done. Although our man Jason Thomas, who was there at the race spotting for television, said, look, by the time Tomac got to 3rd, he didn't really make a run on Osborne for 2nd, which shows you how good Osborne is riding, and that maybe there is a little bit of a championship mentality right now for Tomac, who's got to realize the difference between the 3rd in a race and 2nd. Those points probably aren't worth the risk. He's got a little more than a 1-race lead on now Webb, who's 2nd in the series. So it's still a great situation for Eli, who's been on the podium in all of these races. And yes, Webb has leapfrogged Roczen to take over 2nd in the series. It's amazing how quickly this flipped. But I said some things are back, and not just the Cooper Webb racecraft. By the way, he scored the most points of anyone now in these 4 races. Also back 250 Supercross West. Speaking of West, the time zones, I live on the East Coast, are killing me. So Johnny, let's get a coffee together. Is that what you use?
Yeah.
Is that what you use? You use shock fluid? Shock fluid coffee grounds?
Greases up your energy.
I could use that here after, I think I was up to 2:30 in the morning covering that race last night. Hey, is that hard work, covering a race on a computer?
I don't believe it is.
No, okay, it's just typing. That's all I was doing, is typing and downloading things, letting the computer do the hard work. So 250 Supercross West was back. How does this thing work? Here's what I never understand about the Keurigs. Now I know Keurigs are certainly not for the novice mechanic. That is this is something really reserved for the mechanically inclined and a more experienced wrench. How do you know if there's water in the thing? Because everybody always says, dude, just hit the button, just hit the button. I'm like, but what about the water? Oh, you look. Oh, you look.
Your mechanical skills are not even fit for a kitchen, are they?
No, okay.
Throw that
you
in
drop
there.
one in, and it does the cutting for you.
Turn it on. Actually, we need to open it up, reset it.
See, how did you know that?
Experience, my man.
Like I said, it's not for novice mechanics. So that's it? It's done? I'm gonna have coffee here?
Pick your creamer.
Okay, I can do that much. This is you reach into the box?
Yes.
All right. I will go for French vanilla. But speaking of French vanilla, ooh, it was a little bit denied. Dylan Ferrandis came in 2-race win streak that you might not remember because it feels like it was 5 years ago. You like that transition. You like that transition.
I should be on his butt patch.
You French vanilla. Well, he's been nothing but vanilla this year. I'll tell you, he's been very dynamic, and he did win 2 in a row, what feels like 5 years ago before this break. And to me, it was a real question of would Ferrandis be able to maintain that for 85 days? Because I thought Justin Cooper, Austin Forkner, 85 days to improve. They're still relatively young riders. Maybe they can make the gains that they needed to make. So I asked Ferrandis about that after the race, and he said, well, his job is to train and ride, so it's not like he wasn't going to do that during the break. But he's actually looking at an even bigger picture than just counting points or trying to win this championship. Yes, he wants to win it, but he won it last year. Ferrandis' real goal is to not just win, but to impress, because he needs a 450 ride next year. So he doesn't just want a title, he wants to have the maximum amount of leverage. He really wants to establish himself as a must-have guy going into the 450 class. So there was no doubting his motivation. And yet, Forkner comes out on top. Now, we know there's a significant difference between Forkner and Ferrandis, as in Forkner's a great starter and Ferrandis is not so great. Now, Ferrandis said his start wasn't actually bad, but the problem was he had a bad gate pick because he was involved in the wildest and woolliest 250 heat race you'll ever see. He was knocked down or taken out by Cameron McAdoo. Cameron McAdoo caught Ferrandis in the heat race to do that, by the way. Then McAdoo went down, Moseman went down, taking McAdoo out, and somehow Ferrandis finished 5th in the heat. That gave him like the 9th or 10th gate pick for the main. That screwed his start. But to me, it still took half the... There's no coffee in here, dude.
Push the button.
Oh, I needed to push the button.
Yeah, which one do you want? Large, medium, small?
Well, I don't understand. Isn't it the same thing in a different dosage, or would I actually get more coffee?
Volume.
Are you willing to give up that much water?
What?
Can I do the maximum amount of water? Are you willing to give it up?
Yeah, it may overflow that. I would go medium.
Okay, go medium. Cheapskate, you just don't want me to use all your water. All right, I hit the button. Wait, is that doing it? I'm hitting the button, it's not doing anything. Or do I hit the...
It's usually the key.
Yeah, experienced mechanics say so. What the...
Okay, not that hard.
Oh, it's so easy.
What did you do?
I never touched it. I have video proof. Huh. What did you do?
Huh.
I put the same button you did.
Right.
And now it's just brewing. I hit the button, I have video proof of that, but people keep saying, dude, you're making this stuff up. And now I have video proof. I hit the button. Forkner's a better starter than Ferrandis. Ferrandis was able to overcome that before the break. He didn't really get going, I feel, until halfway through. It was too late. He was 5 seconds behind Forkner. He cut it down to about 2. Forkner, I think, was playing a little bit of the management game. He said he just knew he needed to not make a huge mistake in the whoops, and the race was his, and it was. And credit to Ferrandis, he actually gave credit to Forkner, saying, man, the elevation, that really got to me. This was one of the most physically grueling Supercrosses I've ever been in. If Forkner was able to hold me off, the kid must have been working hard during the break, so props to him. And Forkner said, yeah, he had heard from some of the East guys and the team that the elevation was no joke, and he felt it. So now the guys are wondering, good call here, this thing was maxed out. Now the guys are wondering if it's gonna get easier their next race on Sunday, that they're used to the elevation, or if that's gonna keep beating them down. McAdoo, I mentioned, spectacular, great, much improved. He's got his shot here at Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. He was working super hard with Nick Way and seeing Cirillo over the break, and it showed. But he's like a Rambo-like determined dude. He was not even happy with third. He says the goal is to win, not to get third. McAdoo's got to walk before he runs. Podium was good. The disappointment was Justin Cooper, who started second and finished 4th. That's not going to help him as far as the championship is concerned. He really needed to win this race to put Ferrandis on the ropes, and he wasn't able to get it done. But either way, the West is back, and that was refreshing to see. Those heat races, like I said, were nutty. The field is really deep, and you still got some young guys who are not afraid to saw off front wheels and make it exciting. So it was a pretty wild night overall. And that Webb Roczen battle certainly kept people entertained for a while, as well as Tomac's charge to the pack. But we are beginning to see the 450 pack completely established. The same guys are being strong in every race, and the same guys who have struggled with the previous Salt Lake City races continue to struggle. This time Justin Barcia had bike problems, didn't finish, for example, so it has been a nightmare scenario for him. Osborne keeps surging. Martin Davalos has been rock solid. He keeps surging. It's almost getting to that you are what you are point in Salt Lake City. Roczen's, I think, trying everything he can think of, but he's not able to turn this ship around. So that means advantage Tomac. If it keeps going the way it's going, he's finally gonna have what he always wanted, which is a Supercross title, and I will end it like this. Cooper Webb's known for some of these mental game, mind game tactics, right? I don't know if I can put creamer in my coffee while I do this video. I'm gonna try. Cooper Webb is known for some of the mind game tactics, more so in his 250 days, but he was getting desperate when we got to Salt Lake City. He needed to make up huge points on Roczen and Tomac, and he started digging into the bag of tricks. There are reports that he was going down to the line and screaming at Tomac and Roczen about you guys ready for battle, and maybe trying to intimidate them or scare them or just make them think, dude, this guy is crazy. After the race, Webb was actually asked about that. He was asked, have you tried to rattle Tomac and Roczen mentally because you need to make up huge chunks of points? And because he's honest to a fault, he said, yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I tried. I tried to rattle Eli. It's not working. He's not cracking mentally. This year, he seems like he's on it. So at this point, all I can do is ride my best and try to win races. So that's not giving up from Webb's standpoint, but I think he knows at this point, Tomac's not gonna just crack and hand it to him. And that's really the most important thing of all, because Tomac has always been his own worst enemy. And if that's done, I think everybody else is too. My last thing is I need to stir this creamer. Is this a coffee stir?
I believe so.
Is it a coffee stir? Okay. In COVID times, am I allowed to use that?
Yeah,
That's what they would recommend? All right, here we go.
Now that your work's done for the week.
Oh yeah, I only worked one night. I'm done.
Yeah, now that you're done for the week.
Yeah.
Maybe let the photographers take over and do your job for you.
And the machine downloading their photos?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Is this a coffee stir? Gosh.
You'll find out.
I need some coffee.